Hello and welcome to episode 135 of the Mouses Makes Knitting podcast. I've got a few things to show you today, but before I do any of that I have to make a correction. My friend Caroline of the Aria Bark podcast sometimes has what she calls Correction Corner, and today I'm going to have to borrow that. Last week I showed you the Treasure Trove wrap by Stephen West that I'd cast on. I'd actually cast it on 4 times at that point, and still wasn't getting it correct. I'd messed about with different needle sizes, changed my tension and everything, still wasn't looking right. And then the following day, I record on a Tuesday, and this goes up on a Wednesday afternoon, which gives me time to upload it and edit it. And by edit it, I mean add in the description box and what have you, add in any photographs I need to, that kind of thing. So Wednesday morning, I wasn't even knitting. I wasn't thinking about knitting. I wasn't doing any knitting. I was stood in the kitchen and I suddenly received a vision from the knitting gods. And I went, I'm doing that stitch wrong. And I had yet again, it's not the first time, it won't be the last, rushed gung-ho into something going, I know how to do this. I did it in September. And in actual fact, I'd only remembered half of what I was supposed to be doing. So I pulled it back for a 5th time. Not all the way down this time, just back to when the dip stitches started. And now I've given it a little steam this morning. Whoop, that's on the floor. So it looks a bit better. Now it looks like this. Which is how it's supposed to look. I'm going to put a photograph in here. You might have to pause to have a good look at it. But basically, the dip stitches should be running at a diagonal, which is what they're doing now. And I had them running vertically. Will I ever learn? I think the answer to that, as we all know, is no. Because this is not the first time, and as I've said, it will not be the last. I've also now got the sort of, can you see how it's skewing off sideways, which is what it's supposed to do, because the stitches pull it in that direction and mine wasn't. Now it is. So yeah, I gave it a little steam because it was curling up and I didn't think you'd be able to see it very well. So now we're all back on track. And I think I also forgot to tell you last week that the Treasure Trove wrap is a free pattern. I'm pretty sure I did. I couldn't remember whether I'd actually told you what it was called, because I was quite excited by it until I looked back and saw that I had. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I didn't tell you it was free. So now, hopefully, it will be smooth sailing for the next 88 inches or however long I end up. I finished a thing. I finished quite a big thing. Again, sorry, I'm suddenly very warm. I might have to put a photograph in because what I've finished is my star blanket and it's pretty enormous. I've got it folded in half. I don't even know if you can see. I don't think you can see the whole thing. That's the middle. I'm quite pleased with it. It's all knit in, no, that's a lie. It's mostly knit in Starcraft Special DK. The dark grey, which I think is graphite, warm grey, gold, and the creamy colour is a Hayfield bonus DK, which just has a number, not a name. I was so pleased to get this off the needles, and I've even done a 2-colour I-cord. I've never done it before, I tried it once or twice before and just lost patience. And this was a big I cord, but I think it took me two afternoons, 2 evenings. But yeah, it's done. It's off the needles. I will probably never knit another. And I managed not to break any needles while I was doing it, or pull any cords out of them, so I'm quite pleased. Blocking it presented a bit of a problem, but because it's all 100% acrylic, I just bunged it in the washing machine on a short cool wash, folded it much as you see it here, and then just stuck it flattish on an airer, and it's fine. It's got some really nice drape to it. I don't know if you can see that. So yeah, quite pleased both with the finished object and to have it off the needles. I offered it to Ewan because his bedroom is dark grey, and he said no thank you. So yeah, I'm now stuck with it. We've not, when I've cast it on, which was, sorry about that noise, it was February or March last year, so 2023. I had hoped that we were going to decorate my bedroom. We still haven't decorated my bedroom, so it still doesn't match the colour scheme in there. So who knows, maybe one day I'll get my grey and gold bedroom, just not yet. So I'd finished one thing, and then I frogged a thing as well. It was a Sirdar pattern. It was called the Ripple Blanket, I think, or the something Ripple Blanket. I cast it on last November, did about that much of it and haven't touched it since. And I thought, this is a waste of yarn, and it was just sitting there doing nothing. So I pulled it down and I cast something else on. I have in fact cast on 3 new things, but because I've done some frogging and I've finished that blanket, my total remains at 37. So although I've cast on 3 things and I had 38, I'm actually 1 down. So that's quite good, isn't it? This sweater I've knit before. It's this one. And you've seen me in it. I knit it in, it's a Sirdar dual spun pattern, and I knitted it in golden green, I think it's called. I love it. Beautiful, beautiful colours. I wore it in February, and I was actually sitting in a waiting room, waiting for an appointment, and looked down, and on the sleeve, round about here, was a dropped stitch that I hadn't noticed. I'd worn it and washed it several times, and the dropped stitch was still just sitting there. It hadn't run, it hadn't gone anywhere. And I put, because I had my knitting bag, like you do, a light bulb marker in to hold it. And I don't actually remember whether I've fixed it yet or whether it's now back in the wardrobe, having been washed yet again with a light bulb marker in it. I should probably have a look, shouldn't I? Anyway, I've cast it on again. I've actually knit it twice before. I knit that one, and I knit sort of a grey and burgundy striped one in yarn I got in Poundland, which was, it came out quite nice actually, but it has grown a lot in the wash. So it's one that I use as kind of an over jumper if I'm out in the garden and it gets chilly. All jumpers are really over jumpers, aren't they? That didn't make a lot of sense. What I mean is I use it like an extra layer on top of another jumper because it's quite big. So, getting back on track. The yarn I pulled down is this one. Oops, don't fall. Really, really nice colours. Again, it's jewelled spun Aran, and this colourway is Sunstone Amber. And it was too pretty to be sat in a bag waiting for me to knit a blanket when I have so many other blankets waiting to be finished. It's got some gorgeous colours in it. I love this sort of corally, bright corally colour. Yes, so Sunstone Amber, which is number 855, sorry. I haven't done very much. I've done this much, which is more than it looks, because it's, rather than having a ribbed hem, it's got a little roll up hem. But yeah, it's not very much, is it? So I'm debating about the size, which is why I've not gone any further. I have enough to make this size, but I'm wondering if I want to go down a size, because the green one, which is the same size as I've cast this one on, is possibly a little bit big. It's knit bottom up in pieces, as you can see, so I'm wondering whether I might go down a size. I'm still pondering that. I've got lots of other things to knit while I think about it, so I don't know. So that was new cast on number 1, replacing the blanket that I pulled the yarn down from. So I have no guilt. Not that I would have guilt anyway, because it's my yarn and I'll do what I like with it. But it was pretty and it was sat there doing nothing, and that seemed sad. So before I decided I was going to cast that jumper on, I went and I had a look at other patterns from Sirdar, and I did actually buy a cabled tabard thing, and I started knitting that. I knit about 6 inches of it, but the cables were really thick, really thick, and I thought, I'm not going to wear this. It's going to be uncomfortable and I'm just not going to wear it. So I pulled it down and cast that on instead. But while I was looking, I came across 2 other patterns that I rather liked. So I've also cast on this. This is another Sirdar pattern. It's called the Twilight Terrace Tabard, and it's crochet. So that's a bit different for me. I am, if you've not been here before, a baby crocheter. I've been knitting for about 55, 56 years, but crochet is something very new. So I have made this much. Now this is a dual spun Aran pattern. That's what it's written for. But I'm trying something different with it. I'm trying it in this. I think I'm going to have to buy some more. I don't think I've got enough, but I can't really judge because it's crochet. This is Yarn Smiths from Wool Warehouse, and this is their Free Spirit Aran, and the colourway is 1D006. I'm trying to remember what it was called. It had a name, but I can't remember. That was Ewan coming in. If you heard that bump, that was the front door. Ewan has got his headphones in, and so he's incredibly noisy because he's no idea how much noise he's making. So, yeah, it's a start. I've really enjoyed crocheting it. I don't think I've got enough, as I say, but even if I can't get the same dye lot, I don't think it's going to matter much because of the way it's constructed. It was on a sale when I bought it. That's the only thing. It was, I think, half price. Sale finished on the 30th of April. And I bought it on the 30th of April, so I've no chance of getting any more at the sale price. But it was a new line and I wanted to try it. I might as well do a bit of a review of it while I'm at it, mightn't I? I don't know how I would get on with knitting with it. I will buy some more to try knitting. It's strangely constructed it's twisted together, plied together, a bit like hand spun. But what you've got is almost two strands of roving twisted together, and it's quite easy to separate those strands while you're working if you don't pay attention to what you're doing. So I would like to try knitting with it, I must admit, and see. I might well end up with a different colourway to knit something with. Yeah, it's very soft, but it is a little bit squeaky. That might be the crochet hook that I'm using, which is just a cheap metal one, but I don't know. I don't know. I can definitely feel the difference in quality between this and the Sirdar, which is also 100% acrylic. They're both 100% acrylic, so it shouldn't make a difference. But can you hear? Can you hear it's rustly? Which is why I think it will be good for this, which is an over t-shirt or over blouse garment. I'm not sure I'd like it next to my skin. You know how odd I can be. So I started crocheting that. Now I'm going to veer off onto whips again and come back to the other thing I've cast on. I'm making a blanket with crocheted squares with the mini clubs from Mousewitch Yarns and Yarn Unique. Well, I was crocheting up the April Mousewitch mini clubs, which are these. These are all sold out, I'm afraid, but I thought I'd show you. But of course, these are constructed differently. So I picked these up to work on, and it took me a good few minutes to figure out what I was supposed to be doing, because these are essentially solid squares, and that is more like a traditional granny, and I got myself very, very confused. It's easily done, to be fair. I've done a terrible thing. I've been having problems with my laptop. Tangent. I spend a lot of time on Zoom, and I haven't been able to go on Zoom anywhere near as much as I want to, because I don't know quite what's going on, but my laptop is saying I haven't got enough bandwidth. And so, I don't know, I was messing with it. I shouldn't mess with stuff. But I've managed to delete all my spreadsheets. Delete, gone forever. Not into a recycle bin, completely gone. So I spent yesterday gathering together all the information that I'd had on those spreadsheets. Fortunately, it's all in other places. I just had to collate it all back together. But now I'm afraid to put it all onto another spreadsheet in case I accidentally delete that again. So I've just got it all written out now on papers, because this is why I will never have Knit Companion. I can't be trusted. Give me a paper pattern that I can write notes on. We're fine. Okay, tangent over. What was I telling you? I was telling you about the things I'd cast on. Oh yes. I can't believe it's 18 minutes and I've nearly finished telling you everything. I must have been like speeding through. On the Sirdar website, I found another pattern that I like the look of. I'm not sure I'm going to enjoy wearing it. I have clothes claustrophobia. I have got stuck in a swimming costume before now and screamed for Ewan to bring scissors to cut me out. If I get stuck getting in or out of a jumper because it gets hooked up on my glasses or whatever, there's panic. I'm not sure this is a good idea, but it's a type of poncho. It's kind of a cocoon type poncho, which is what makes me think it may not be the best idea. I'm making the largest size to be on the safe side. There are only 3 sizes, which are basically small, medium, large. It's very enjoyable to knit. However, the pattern itself is very intimidating. I would like to show you, but it's a paid for pattern, so I don't think I can. But if I hold it right back here, you won't be able to read it. Can you see all that? That's row after row of instructions. There are instructions for pretty much, well, there are instructions for every single row. I suspect that once you get the hang of what you're doing, you can use that as a reference rather than slavishly following it. But you know me, and we know what hideous mess I've just made with the Stephen West treasure trove wrap, so who knows. So this is knit from the top down. This is the little collary bit, and this is the colour that I've chosen to knit it in. So it's kind of a, that looks like I've done something weird there, but it's just the colour. It's kind of a broken offset rib. I'm using jewel spun again. I did buy this at the same time as the Yarn Smiths. This was not on offer. If you remember, someone will be gearing up to tell me off because I said I was having a no buy year. I actually said a low buy year, and the rules were yarn shows. I'm not going to a yarn show and I'm not buying something, because what's the point of going otherwise? And I could buy yarn so long as I was going to use it straight away. Well, the tabard's cast on with the Yarn Smiths that I bought, and this is cast on with the jewel spun that I bought, so it's within the rules. This one is 852 and it's Evening Jade, and it has got all my favourite greens in. You know, I like the olives and the limes, and it's also got turquoise and purple. Not got to the purple in this ball yet, but I don't think it's far. I'm on this at the moment. I love this colourway. I love the other one, the one that I showed you that I pulled down from the blanket, the Sunstone Amber, but I think my heart really lies with the blues and the greens. And I'm using this bag from Jibby Rousseau's as sort of a yarn cozy, because it's a big ball. I haven't got anything else that it fits into, and it's inclined to roll around if I don't corral it into something, so I've got it in there. So yeah, I knit the collar and I've just put in, it has raglan shaping apparently, the markers for the shapings. It's a bit naughty to have cast on new things, I know that, but it served a purpose because I'd reached a point where I didn't want to knit on anything at the moment. I didn't have anything that was inspiring me, anything that I particularly wanted to get finished, anything that I was particularly enjoying knitting apart from my small mitered square blanket. So these new patterns have got me, the tabard's got me crocheting the squares again. I had a build up of yarns that I needed to get crocheted for the blanket. That's sort of re-sparked that interest, and now I'm more interested in knitting other things as well. So it has served a purpose. I've got 2 more works in progress to show you and then I'm done. I have finished putting in, no, that's the wrong one. I have not finished putting into that one. I've only just started. I've literally got 1 row. I finished putting in the emerald tonal into the, it's called My Favourite Blanket by Kay Jones. And this is what I was on about last week when I said we're going to turn the corner now and start going up. So this blanket has the tonals from the Birthstone collection every month. So that's the emerald one gone in. And now we've got these, I don't know if you can see them. There you go. Eyelets. And we carry on like that for a few months now. 4. So there's another 3 months to go in, going up the side. This is the side. And then we'll square off the other corner. That didn't take very long at all. That didn't seem to take, I think because there's a pattern to it, didn't take as long as the plain bands preceding it seemed to do. And yet it's used pretty much the same amount of yarn. So it is just the perception, I think, of it going more quickly because there's pattern. Now I'm putting in the emerald variegated into this one, which is the giant mitered square, and I've literally one row. So I'll probably be working on that today out in the garden. The sun is shining, hallelujah, which probably means it's going to be far too hot for me to sit out there, but I'm planning to try and sit out there, probably in the shade where I will be too cold, because I can't sit in the sun because it's too hot. There's just no pleasing some people. Yes, the other thing I need, I've left over there. Do I turn you off or can I reach? I might be able to reach. I'm going to get a bit up close and personal. I apologise. Hang on. Oh, avalanche. Sorry, that was probably very loud in your ear for me to be making that noise. I've worked quite a bit on this. This is my rocket tee. There was a new cast on last week. I'm knitting it with the Twilight Skies from the Mousewitch Yarns Skies and Vibes collection. And I've done quite a lot. Last time you saw it, I was there. And I've now split for the sleeves. I've put a ribbed edging on the sleeves. They are supposed to have an I-cord. I put a ribbed edging on. I took a risk and did it with the same size needle that I'm knitting the body with. I don't know that that was a good idea. But it's easy enough to just pull it back and re-knit them. I'm on colour 5 now, which is this one. And I think if I show you the back is probably the best way. Now I'm going to try and reach a hanger. That I'm not going to be able to manage. No, I'm about 3 inches too short. Hang on a sec. There we go, got the hanger. I think you can probably see better if I show you the back. So colour 1, I'm trying to see where they change. I was going to put in markers and I forgot. I think that's 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. You can see the difference between those two more easily, especially here. And now I'm into colour 5. So despite all the new casting on and everything, I've done a fair amount since you saw it last, because I hadn't got to I had about another 6 rows I think before I joined it in the round, because you start off knitting it flat. So yeah, I'm very pleased with this. I'm going to sit here like this in the hope that this ends up being the thumbnail. It won't be. It'll be me making some hideous face, because that's what the algorithm always chooses, rather than a nice picture like this. Yeah, let's give up on that game. I'm really pleased with it. At the moment, it's a little bit startling, but it will tone down shortly. I love the colours. I absolutely love the colours. I know you shouldn't really blow your own trumpet like that, but I'm so pleased with this. I really am. And I do think I'm going to end up having to pull those back and redo them in a smaller needle. They're just a bit flary, aren't they? And they want to flip. We'll see. I can always leave it. Look at that. Look, that hair, that was knitted in. Those of you who've got my yarn, I do apologise. I do try and make sure no hair gets into it, but I've no doubt some of you have got my DNA. Yeah. There we go. So I think that is really all I've got to show you. Don't think I've done anything else of any interest. Told you about the major deleting disaster. Such an idiot. Don't even quite know how I managed to do it. I think it asked me to delete some stuff to free up space somewhere, and I deleted the wrong stuff, I think. Dave had a look and he said, oh, we can't get it back, and I was like, I know, because I've done all that. And apparently if you ring Google, they might be able to give it back to you, but I don't want to have to talk to some tech savvy internet person and explain to them that I am just like a bit challenged and have deleted something that was actually quite important, but I pressed buttons when I shouldn't have done. I don't want to have to do that, because for many years my brother would have been the man on the end of the phone, you know, the other end of that phone call, and I could probably ring him. I mean, he hasn't got access to anything to reinstate it, but I'm just not going to, because that gene skipped me. My brother and my cousin wrote, they don't so much now, really important computer programs, and knew everything about computers, and I have absolutely zero idea. I have enough trouble attaching a photograph to an email. If they want a document attached, I've got no hope. It's just beyond me. But I did get the gene with the hair, so that's okay, because yeah, they're both bald. Given my choice, I'd have the hair gene rather than the IT gene. On balance, I think. Anyway, I'm quite sure you don't want to sit there and watch me admiring the pretty colours in my jumper. So I'm going to go. Before you type down below to tell me off, please remember that my yarn buying is within the rules. My casting on is also within the rules. And I'm quite surprised actually that none of you commented last week to say you're doing those dip stitches wrong. I was sure there was going to be at least one person tell me I was doing it wrong, but no. Clearly none of the rest of you are just insane enough to be doing it again. So I don't know. I'm admiring that now because it looks really pretty, especially now I've steam blocked that bit. What I might do, I might steam block it in sections as I go. That would be easier than having to block the whole thing at the end, wouldn't it? I might do that. That might be a good idea. Right, definitely going now because I'm desperate for a cup of coffee. So I will see you next week. Just like checking that there's nothing happening next week. I have got a hospital appointment this week and I've got a hospital appointment next week, but neither of them interfere, so that's okay. Yeah. Oh, and now my watch says I've been sitting down for too long, so definitely time to run up and down the stairs a couple of times and make some coffee. So I will see you next week. Until then, happy knitting. Remember children, don't rely on I know how to do this. Check, look it up, watch the video that the designer has very thoughtfully provided for exactly that purpose. That's the end of the public service announcement. I'll see you next week. Bye guys.